Netanyahu looks close to victory in Israel despite a challenge from his rival Benny Gantz of the Blue and White Party. Nearly all the votes are counted, and Mr Netanyahu is now expected to be able to form a coalition as Prime Minister with other right-wing groups. Our Middle East correspondent Alex Rossi tells us more.
It had looked like there would be no clear results, but by the early hours, Benjamin Netanyahu emerged to declare victory.
I'm very moved that the people of Israel put their trust in me again, for the 5th time. A greater trust even.
The election's been a referendum on his 10 years in power, and the result has split the country.
When the exit polls came in, there were some celebrations here, but they were pretty unconvincing, they were pretty muted. It's a very close race, but now Benjamin Netanyahu has taken to the stage and he is promising to form the next government. The mood has lifted somewhat, but the fact that this was so very tight is a reflection of just how divisive this campaign has been.
The toxic atmosphere, partly a result of the tactics on the stump, but also because he is a man facing serious criminal allegations.
Do you think the corruption charges went against Benjamin Netanyahu? Do you think they made a difference?
Well, who knows? I don't know, but definitely together with the legal charges to get between 33 to 37 seats is a real achievement for him.
The country seems pretty divided, though. If you look at this poll, it's a divided country.
Like the UK. Politics, we are divided. But hopefully it will get better and we will try to unite the nation.
On a different stage, not far away, the challenger to Netanyahu's reign was also claiming victory. Benny Gantz, a former IDF chief and political novice, looked at one point in pole position with his anti-corruption and unity message.
No one who isn't from our party should feel concerned. The only thing that people need to think of is what is our common ground, where can we unite on the basis of shared understanding.
But as the night wore on, expectation grew that the man known to his supporters as King Bibi, because of his political longevity, would have the best chance of forming a coalition. With his legal woes, though, it will likely be an unstable alliance.
He talked about doing things like annexing parts of Area C, and he may dangle that as an incentive for the far-right parties to enter his coalition and stick by him, even if he's charged in court. But it's going to be a very difficult next few months for Netanyahu, even though tonight he's celebrating a 5th election victory.
The big question now, then, is what will Netanyahu have to promise his partners? And if he's successful, will he try and use his power to get laws passed to exempt himself from prosecution? Alex Rossi, Sky News, Tel Aviv.
Well, here to discuss more is James Marlow, who's Israel political analyst at the Jewish Weekly newspaper, and also Yossi Mekelberg, Professor of International Relations at Regents University. James, to you first of all, what do you think the 5th premiership of Bibi will look like?
Well, it's going to look like a stable coalition. It looks like he's got 65 seats with the smaller parties. And I have to tell you, he is a true wizard of a campaigner. That's what his people are saying. Simply because the two people that he did not want to work with, Naftali Bennett, he's gone. He started his new party called the Right Party, and it looks like they have not crossed the minimum threshold of 3.25%. The other person, which was going to be a real thorn in the side of Netanyahu, was a man called Moshe Feiglin. His Zehut party also does not look like it's crossed the threshold, despite the fact that the polls, which I've immersed myself in polls for the last 4 months, and really found the common denominator of 12 main pollsters who work in Israel. It looked like he was going to get 6 or 7 seats. But he's not got those. So Netanyahu looks like he's got a perfect coalition with the religious parties, with one right party, and we look like that it's going to be perhaps another fairly stable coalition for the next 4 years.
Is that your reading of it, Yossi?
Not exactly. I would agree with James that he's a very skillful He's a very skillful campaigner, and he wins election after an election, so no one can argue with that. But he's a failed prime minister, and he leads Israel to complete moral bankruptcy. Is this a government that can lead Israel into peace with the Palestinians? My answer is no. Is it a government that can close the gaps between rich and poor? My answer is no. In a world of populism, when you have Trump and Putin and Bolsonaro, yes, Bibi fits perfectly. But what is the future of the country when you have a leader that is indicted 57 pages of indictment for the worst corruption in Israel history? So the stability might be there until the hearing for his indictment. Then we see what happens.
And that is a question, isn't it, James? We know that this is hanging in the balance. We will find out, indeed, we will find out what will happen, whether he is indicted. And it could mean that there is another election. So in a few months, it may not be quite so stable.
I think, firstly, it's important to note exactly what these charges are. There is the Attorney General, Avichai Mandelblit, has said that he was going to push for 3 charges against Netanyahu. That is pending a hearing. That hearing is set for July. It depends upon what the response is going to be. And however Netanyahu's lawyers respond to that, then they decide whether they're going to go ahead with the case or not. But we are talking about, firstly, it's not loads of cash in a brown envelope being received and being sanctioned off to some foreign.
It's even worse, James.
Like
it's even worse.
Well, it could.
If you look, for instance,
if you like cigars, if you like bottles of champagne,
forget about cigars and champagne, but actually compromising the media, cutting deals with the media. So instead of free, so this is even worse. It's about democracy. It's about what we read. So this, and let alone, if you forgive me, the submarines, which are waiting around the corner. This makes it even think because some.
So I'm very glad you brought up the submarine case, because that was the one case that the Attorney General actually said that there was nothing to answer for. The cases to answer for is loads of cigars, and I'm not a cigar smoker, so I don't want that. Champagne, I don't know what he's doing with all these bottles of champagne. But is that really enough to go ahead and to quote Yossi to say that?
Look at the 4,000 affair.
Sorry,
the 4,000 affair that you ignore is probably the most serious one, and the same with
the submarine.
No, the 4,000 affairs with Bezek, the director of Bezek.
Okay, let's not go into the details of the corruption, just because we haven't got time. On the one hand, to really do that. The fact remains that there are corruption allegations, and despite those allegations, and despite what will happen with those allegations, he still won a 5th term in office.
Exactly.
Yossi, where do you think this leaves the potential of a 2-state solution for this part of the world?
Well, there were so many last nails in this coffin, but this is another one. And unfortunately, someone who supports the 2-state solution, and we think that times are changing with the new party and the blue and white, I don't think that this is going to happen, because already Netanyahu, and with tailwind from the Trump administration, said that he intends to annex Area C, 60% of the West Bank. If he is actually doing even part of it, and with the blockade on Gaza, where is the 2-state solution? Forget about 2-state solution. Where there is any humane solution for more than 5 million Palestinians inside Gaza and the West Bank, and the refugees that live outside.
James, do you think he wants to negotiate? Do you think he wants to find a solution of that kind?
I have to say, with all due respect, there's so much misinformation over there as well. There were 47 political parties which were running. 41 actually went ahead with it yesterday. And of all of those political parties, only one campaigned on the 2-state solution. Labour didn't go with it. Why? Because previously they've been wiped out. In fact, they're down to 6 seats. They actually campaign on social and economic grounds. I would agree with Yossi that, yes, a little bit more emphasis needs to be put on that as well. Blue and white didn't even talk about the 2-state solution. Why? Because the Palestinians don't want a 2-state solution, that the Israelis generally have found that they don't want a 2-state solution. There is Gaza, you have Judea and Samaria, historically known, or today known as West Bank as well. The Palestinian Authority looks after those areas. There is an agreement between the Palestinian police force and the Israelis, who jointly patrol areas B in order to prevent terrorists, and that agreement has been working very, very well. But it's now down to Palestinian Authority leader Yasser Arafat was the former one, Mahmoud Abbas today, and he wished 2 days ago Israelis good luck for his election. I actually tweeted back to say, thank you very much for that, but at the same time, perhaps you should think about having a democratic election yourself, because he's in his 15th year of a 4-year term.
Why do you think it is, Yossi, that the 2-state solution, that the feature of this part of the world didn't feature so highly in this election? And why do you think that Israel appears to be moving continuously to the right. It's a very different country, isn't it, to the one it was 10 years ago, for example?
And I agree. The left in Israel is completely decimated in these elections.
Well, why is that?
And I'll give you an answer to that. And I think because there are two cowards actually to talk about two-state solution, and they try to play with Netanyahu in his own patch, and his own patch is better than them. They should have really presented a two alternative. And I disagree with me, the Palestinians don't want two-state solution. What do you want, to live under occupation, under blockade? That's the big dream of the Palestinians or Abu Mazen. They want to negotiate peace. Step by step, by building settlements, by entrenching the occupation, we make two-state solution almost impossible. We need to go back. And with Trump there in the White House, it's almost impossible.
James, how do you feel that Netanyahu represents Israeli Arabs, 20% of the population still inside Israel? Do you think they're being represented in politics? There was a really low turnout from them in these elections.
Well, actually, it was not such a low turnout. In the last election, there's four main Arab factions that joined together called the Joint List, and they became the third largest political party in the previous Knesset. They all split, and then they came back, they paired up with each other. So in this particular election, unlike as we know right now, final results will come through in the next couple of days. But as we know right now, it looks like the Arabs maybe have dropped 2 seats. It's not a great deal considering that they split. But in Israel, the population is just under 9 million, of which just under 2 million Arabs living inside of Israel. Just under 1.8 million have Israeli citizenships, therefore full rights. And I have to tell you, more of those Palestinian Israeli Arabs actually vote for the Likud and right-wing parties than the left-wing parties. So why is that? And that is because they're much happier inside of Israel than they are in the Palestinian Authority.
It's 10 seconds before we
10 seconds. This is not the case. The nation-state law legally discriminates the Arab citizens of Israel, and the apathy is because of this.
We're going to be talking about that in the break, I think. Thank you both very much. James Marlow from the Jewish Weekly newspaper, and also Yossi Mekelberg from Regents University. Thank you both very much.